So I'm working on my short stories, and I've got another project that I was invited to participate in, and I'm working on that. I've been coming up with this idea for a Kamen Rider series, just to flex the mental muscles, And the idea goes like this, There's the Great Phoenix, which stands for the balance of dark and light, emotion and humanity. And the Phoenix split the duties with an agent of balance called Kamen Rider Chimera, and then he had the avian race who were filled with all the light emotions. And the avian race was known as the Voiceless. It was one of their laws that they couldn't speak. And then there was the unseen, who were not allowed to see, because they were the dark emotions, They were not, if by open their eyes, they would lose their corruption, and it would tilt the balance too far to the other side. Now, the Voiceless couldn't speak because if they spoke in haughty arrogance and stuff, they would fall. Well, here's what happened. The Lord of Light, he had become so haughty and stuff because of their long separation from humanity, Basically, as humanity became more and more as humanity became more and more developed and stuff, and innovation and stuff, the Lord of Light became more and more aloof. He developed this separation of emotion that started to unbalance the set of things, and he decided they didn't need the unseen because humanity, well, actually, mostly the Voiceless were so powerful. He became egotistical because of all the innovation and gains that humanity was making. It was feeding them, feeding them light, So the Lord of Light, felt all powerful. So he used his great increase in power, and he took Kamen Rider Chimera's power so that he could not keep the balance. And he crippled him and took his vitality from him. And Kamen Rider Chimera became Lord Falcon, who would later be the mentor of Kamen Rider Seer. So once he did that, him and the ones who were just as haughty as him flew down, and they killed scores of the unseen, but they ended up getting killed as well. As a punishment by the Phoenix, the Voiceless were forced to leave, and they thought they could come back because, because that humanity would always need them and stuff, But the thing was, they had become corrupted in a different way. Well, not in a different way. Actually, they became corrupted where they were became more of a gray area instead of emphasizing the full purity of light. And because of that, the Phoenix erected barrier, and two of the third class, Dream and Hope, they stayed with Lord Falcon, because their job was to, at the right time, at the right moment, pick the Kamen Rider who would restore the balance, and that'd be Kamen Rider Seer. And his basic form's based on an owl. So, his mask has big eyes. Now, the Unseen, they concocted a plot to save the race, and they planted themselves in humanity's consciousness, where they fed, bred, and multiplied with humanity. So, all these years later, the Unseen start emerging by feeding on the past 30, 40 years of dark emotion. It's basically overcharged, like how the dark side of the Force became super strong after Revenge of the Sith and all that. And that's when it was time for them to give the Drive Seer to the Chosen One, and that would be Jiraiya Sasuke. And Jiraiya, when they put the belt on him, he can't take it off until his mission's done. And the eyes on the Drive Seer are closed all the time. Only time they open is when the Unseen are about to emerge, or, where they're about to merge, or when there's an opportune moment for him to, when they emerge, that's one thing, and sometimes the belt will awaken when there's an opportunity to create a balance, like a certain person that would be relevant to the history of society, it'll awaken. So, he ends up fighting, and because he's a pure spirit, his Kamen Rider form uses light, and he infuses it in the darkness, and he basically distills the Unseen. So they become separated from humanity. Think of it as a phoenix fires burning away the dead aspects of the Unseen, so that the cycle can, now naturally, because of the unbalance, the Phoenix became unbalanced. A dark side was created. And that dark side created the dark driver. And the dark driver is given to a person who's the complete opposite of Jiraiya Sasuke. And he is the sum total of the Unseen's anger, thirst for vengeance, and all the darker emotions that have bubbled and gotten stronger. And they call him Kamen Rider Raven, and you don't find out till later that his real name's Miyamoto Hayashi, and he, is basically a very cynical and apathetic man, He has no redeeming qualities. And it's basically implied that the final battle will come down between them. you know. And of course, Kamen Rider Seer gets power-ups, you know. Like the first one, and they're called switch headers, which he can switch the belt buckle. And when he does that, his rider form changes. So he becomes like Kamen Rider or Seer Falcon form, which means he's got greater speed and eyesight. And the Talon braces, which bring are dimensional apeshures in his bracers, where he can pull out his weapons, they change his gloves to where he has claws, you know, and he can, you know, do a lot of piercing damage at super speed, but also he can fly, you know, and one of his attacks is Sonic Edge, you know, where he flies up at super speed and comes right down and basically does a supersonic double slash with his claws. His other attack is a rider kick at supersonic speed. Instead of in the owl form where he's hovered up by the light energy and then driven through him, he flies up at super speed, and comes down and retracts his wings and punches through him. And his final form is Phoenix. In Phoenix form, he has the purging fire. Yeah. And it ends up, you know, and as Kamen Rider Raven, you know, he gets power-ups too, and towards the end, he gets Dark Phoenix power. Instead of shooting fire, he shoots ice. You know, he protrudes ice, which is opposite fire. You know, his ice creates, inspires darker emotions, which feed him in the scenes. And the final clash, of course, Kamen Rider Raven is destroyed, and Kamen Rider Seer is no longer needed. You know, so he gives up the belt. You know, and you know, because the belt's seemingly drained of power. And Lord Falcon, he's restored to his youth. He gets his wings back, and he becomes Kamen Rider Chimera again. And he takes over and begins the restoration of order. You know, balancing. So yeah, a lot going on. Catch you later.